I was mad and threatened to leave my husband for another guy. FAFO. My husband was not playing. The corner of the envelope left a paper cut on my finger as I frantically tore it open. The sting was nothing compared to the pain spreading through my chest as I read the documents inside. Divorce papers, clean, professional, precise, just like Marcus himself. In the margins, his neat handwriting, as requested, signed where indicated. But I hadn't requested this. Not really. 3 days ago, in the heat of our worst argument ever, I had screamed that I was leaving him for Ethan from work. The words had flown from my mouth like poisoned darts, meant to wound. And they had. I just hadn't expected Marcus to take me at my word so completely, so efficiently. I fucked around. Now I was finding out. Can you believe Marcus forgot our anniversary? Again, I complained to Lena over lunch. The restaurant buzzed with conversations around us, but my friend's attention was fixed solely on me as I ranted. 5th year in a row, Lena. 5 years. She winced sympathetically. Did you remind him last week like I suggested? I stirred my iced tea aggressively. No, because I shouldn't have to. He should just remember. We've been married for 8 years. Right, but you know how he gets when he's deep in a project. That new bridge design is more important than our marriage. Got it. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Marcus was a structural engineer, brilliant, methodical, and utterly absorbed in his work. I had once found those qualities endearing. Lately, they felt like evidence that I barely registered in his life. As if summoned by my complaints, my phone lit up with a text from Ethan. Project finished early. Boss letting us leave at 3. Drink? Ethan had joined our marketing firm 6 months ago. Charming, attentive, with an easy laugh that made everyone around him feel special, including me. Especially me. Who's that? Lena asked, noticing my expression change. Ethan, I said, trying to sound casual. Wants to grab a drink after work. Lena's eyebrows shot up. The Ethan you've mentioned 15 times this week? The one who remembers how you like your coffee? It's just drinks with a coworker, I said defensively. Olivia, Lena set down her fork. You know I love you, but you're playing with fire. If you're unhappy with Marcus, talk to him. Don't use another man as an escape. I've tried talking. He doesn't listen. He doesn't see me anymore. Then try couples therapy. Try shouting. Try anything but this. I ignored her advice and texted Ethan back. See you at Sullivan's at 3:30. 1 drink turned into 3. Ethan was funny, engaging, and most importantly, he listened. Really listened. When I talked about the photography exhibition I wanted to see that weekend, he asked follow-up questions. When I mentioned my dream of visiting Prague, he pulled up pictures on his phone of when he backpacked through Europe. Your husband's crazy for not making time for you, Ethan said, his eyes holding mine a beat too long. The validation felt like cool water on a burn. He's just busy, I said, the automatic defense mechanism kicking in. We're all busy, but we make time for what matters. I checked my watch, 7:45 p.m. I should go, I said reluctantly. Let me walk you to your car. In the parking lot, the spring evening still holding the day's warmth, Ethan stepped closer. Olivia, I know you're married, but I can't help how I feel. If things were different. He didn't finish the sentence, but his meaning hung in the air between us. For one wild moment, I considered closing the distance, considered what it would feel like to be desired again. Instead, I stepped back. Good night, Ethan. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Working late, don't wait up. The familiar message sparked an unfamiliar rage. I was tired of being an afterthought, tired of empty promises and forgotten anniversaries, tired of coming second to steel beams and stress calculations. When I walked into our home, the beautiful 3-bedroom house that Marcus had spent months finding because it had the perfect light for my photography hobby, I felt like a stranger. Family photos lined the hallway. Vacation memories, wedding pictures where we both looked blissfully happy. Had we ever really been those people? I pulled out my phone and texted Ethan, rain check on that exhibition this weekend? His reply was immediate. Pick you up Saturday at 10? I hesitated only briefly before responding. Perfect. Saturday morning, I left before Marcus woke. I told myself it wasn't a date, just 2 friends appreciating art. The lie felt flimsy even to me. The exhibition was everything I'd hoped. Ethan asked intelligent questions about composition and lighting that made me feel like my passion mattered. Afterward, We had lunch at a small cafe with tables so intimate our knees occasionally brushed beneath them. "You're different today," Ethan observed. "Happier." "Am I usually not happy?" "You're usually," he searched for the right word, "contained, like you're holding something back." I wanted to deny it, but he wasn't wrong. I had been containing myself, my disappointments, my needs, my desires for years. After lunch, he suggested a walk along the riverfront. The spring day was perfect, cherry blossoms drifting in the breeze. When he took my hand to help me over a section of broken sidewalk, neither of us let go right away. It was nearly evening when I returned home to find Marcus sitting at our kitchen table, design drawings spread out before him. He glanced up briefly. "Hey, where were you all day?" "The photography exhibition I told you about, the one I asked if you wanted to attend." "Right, sorry. This project deadline has me working weekends." He gestured at the papers. "I went with Ethan," I said, watching for his reaction. There was none. "Ethan from your office? That's nice." We had lunch after, and walked along the river. Marcus nodded absently, already refocused on his work. "Sounds like a good day." The lack of jealousy or concern felt like confirmation of everything I feared. He didn't care enough to even be suspicious. The weeks that followed established a pattern. Marcus buried himself in his project. I found increasingly frequent reasons to spend time with Ethan. Lunches extended into afternoon walks. Texts multiplied. Inside jokes developed. I told myself we were just friends, even as I dressed more carefully on days I knew I'd see him. Even as I found myself comparing the two men, Ethan's spontaneity against Marcus's predictability, Ethan's attentiveness against Marcus's distraction. Lena confronted me after I canceled our regular Friday dinner for the third time. "You're having an emotional affair, Liv." "That's not a real thing," I scoffed, but guilt squirmed in my stomach. "It is, and you know it. You're giving Ethan the intimacy and attention that should be going into your marriage." "What marriage? Marcus and I barely speak." "Have you tried? Really tried? Or are you just using his work schedule as an excuse to justify what you're doing?" Her words stung because they contained truth. I hadn't made a genuine effort to reconnect with Marcus in months. It was easier to seek validation elsewhere than to confront the growing distance between us. That night, I made Marcus's favorite dinner, set the table with our good dishes, opened wine. When he came home, his surprise was evident. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion. I just thought we could talk." For a while, it felt like old times. Marcus told me about his project, a pedestrian bridge that would connect two neighborhoods long separated by the river. His eyes lit up, describing the elegant solution he'd found for a structural problem. I tried to engage, asked questions. But halfway through dinner, his phone rang. "I have to take this," he said apologetically. The call lasted 20 minutes. When he returned to the table, I had already cleared the dishes. "I'm sorry, Liv. That was work." "I know. This project is important. It could mean a partnership at the firm." "Everything is always important, Marcus. Everything except us." He looked genuinely confused. "What do you mean? We're fine." "Are we? When was the last time we really talked? Or went out together? Do you even know what's happening in my life anymore?" "You seem happy," he said carefully. "You've been going out more, seeing friends. I thought that was good." "I've been seeking elsewhere what I can't get at home." As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them. They revealed too much. "What does that mean?" His voice had gone very quiet. I could have backtracked. Should have. Instead, something reckless took over. "It means I've met someone who actually sees me, who listens, who makes time for me." Marcus set down his wine glass with deliberate care. "Are you having an affair? Would you even care if I was?" "Answer the question, Olivia. Not physically, but emotionally, maybe I am." The hurt that flashed across his face made me realize I'd miscalculated badly. He did care. I had wanted a reaction, wanted to shake him out of his complacency, but I hadn't wanted to cause him pain. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "That was unfair. I'm just frustrated with how distant we've become." He stood up from the table. "I need some air." He didn't come home that night, the fall. The argument that finally broke us happened 3 weeks later. Marcus had become increasingly withdrawn, spending even more time at work. When he was home, the silence between us was deafening. I had been texting Ethan constantly, using his attentiveness as a balm for my injured marriage. The messages had grown increasingly flirtatious, increasingly inappropriate. I knew I was crossing lines, but the validation was addictive. That evening, Marcus came home earlier than expected. I was in the kitchen, laughing at something Ethan had texted, when Marcus walked in. "What's so funny?" he asked, his tone carefully neutral. I locked my phone screen by reflex. "Nothing important." Marcus set his keys on the counter with deliberate slowness. "It must be something, to make you laugh like that. I haven't heard you laugh like that in a long time. Just something Ethan sent." "Ethan." He repeated the name like it tasted bitter. "Your friend from work." "Yes, my friend." The defensiveness in my voice gave me away. "Let me see." "What? Your phone? Let me see what was so funny." "No," I clutched the phone tighter. "You don't get to check my messages. I've never asked before, have I? In 8 years of marriage, have I ever once asked to see your phone?" He hadn't. Marcus had always respected my privacy, had never shown a jealous or controlling side. That's not the point. It is exactly the point, Olivia. Something has changed, and we both know what it is. Nothing has changed except you checked out of this marriage. My voice rose. "You're never here, and when you are here, you're still at work in your head. So that justifies whatever you've been doing with Ethan?" "I haven't been doing anything." "Then show me the texts." "No, this isn't about Ethan. It's about us." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I'd seen countless times over the years. "Clearly there is no us anymore, if you're turning to another man for whatever it is you think I'm not giving you." He listens to me. He sees me. He remembers the things that matter to me. And I don't. "When was our anniversary, Marcus? What date?" He hesitated just long enough to confirm what I already knew. "That's what I thought," I said, the anger burning hotter. "You can remember every specification for your precious bridge, but not the day you promised to love me forever. An anniversary is just a date. It doesn't measure how much I love you." "No, but your actions do. And your actions say I'm your last priority." "That's not fair. I've been working these hours for us, for our future." "What future? We never talk about the future anymore. We never talk about anything." The argument escalated, years of unspoken resentments pouring out. Marcus accused me of using his work schedule as an excuse to pursue another man. I accused him of emotional neglect. We talked in circles, each of us too hurt to really hear the other. And then I said it. The words I couldn't take back. "Maybe I should just leave. Maybe I should be with someone who actually wants me. Ethan wouldn't treat me like an afterthought." Marcus went very still. The kind of stillness that comes before something breaks. "Is that what you want?" His voice was eerily calm. In that moment, drunk on anger and hurt, I doubled down. "Maybe it is. Maybe I'm tired of competing with your work. Maybe I'm tired of feeling invisible in my own marriage." "You're not invisible, Olivia. You've never been invisible to me." "Really? Then where were you on our anniversary? Where are you every night when I go to bed alone? Where are you emotionally when I try to connect with you?" "I'm right here," he said quietly. "I've always been right here." "No, you haven't." I grabbed my purse. "I can't do this anymore. I need space." "Where are you going?" "To Lena's. Or maybe to Ethan's. At least he'd be happy to see me." It was a cruel thing to say, designed to hurt him as deeply as I felt hurt. The look on his face should have stopped me, should have made me take it all back. But I was too far gone in my own righteousness. I slammed the door behind me and drove to Lena's, tears blurring my vision. She opened her door to find me sobbing on her doorstep. "Oh, Liv," she sighed, pulling me inside. "What happened?" Through hiccuping sobs, I told her about the fight, about the terrible things I'd said, about threatening to leave Marcus for Ethan. "Did you mean it?" she asked when I'd finished. "No, maybe. I don't know." I buried my face in my hands. I was just so angry. Anger makes us say things we don't mean. You don't understand how lonely it's been, how invisible I've felt. "I know," she said gently. "But Liv, have you considered that Marcus might feel the same way? That maybe he's been lonely too?" I hadn't. I'd been so focused on my own pain that I hadn't considered his. "He'll call," I said, wiping my eyes. "He always does after we fight, but he didn't call. Not that night. Not the next day." I stayed at Lena's for 3 days, checking my phone obsessively. There were texts from Ethan, concerned when I didn't show up for work, but nothing from Marcus. On the 3rd day, Lena handed me a cup of coffee and said, Maybe you should call him. He's the one who should apologize, I insisted, clinging to my pride. For what? Working hard? Not being a mind reader? You threatened to leave him for another man, Liv. That's not something most marriages can come back from easily. Put that way, my behavior sounded awful. Because it was awful. I didn't mean it, I whispered. Then go home and tell him that. The house was quiet when I returned. Too quiet. Marcus's car was in the driveway, but he didn't come to greet me when I entered. Marcus? I called out. No answer. I moved through the house, a sense of unease growing with each empty room. In our bedroom, I noticed immediately that his closet door stood open. Half the hangers were empty. On the bed lay a thick manila envelope with my name written on it in Marcus's precise handwriting. My heart hammering, I opened it to find divorce papers already signed by him. In the margins, that devastating note. As requested, signed where indicated. I sank to the floor, the papers clutched in my trembling hands. This was real. This was happening. My husband had taken me at my word and was letting me go. With the papers was a brief letter. Olivia, I've never wanted to hold you back or make you unhappy. If Ethan is who you truly want, I won't stand in your way. I've taken a temporary apartment near the office. The house is yours until we decide what to do with it. I've loved you for nearly a decade. I thought we had a lifetime ahead of us. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible. That was never my intention. Be happy. That's all I've ever wanted for you. Marcus. The simplicity of it, the lack of recrimination, made it worse somehow. There was no anger for me to push against, just a quiet acceptance that broke my heart. I tried calling him, straight to voicemail. I texted, no response. Marcus, it seemed, was done. The next morning, swollen-eyed from crying, I went to work. I couldn't bear to be alone in the empty house. Ethan found me in the break room, staring blankly at a cup of cold coffee. Olivia, are you okay? You look terrible, yeah. What happened? You just disappeared for days. I looked at him, really looked at him. Handsome, charming Ethan who had made me feel special when I needed it most. But looking at him now, I felt nothing. No spark, no connection, just emptiness. My husband and I separated, I said flatly. Ethan's expression shifted too quickly for me to interpret. Surprise? Concern? Opportunity? I'm sorry, he said, sitting down beside me. That must be hard. It is, if you need someone to talk to. I don't think that would be appropriate anymore, I said. What do you mean? Ethan, what have we been doing these past few months? He looked confused. Being friends? Supporting each other? Is that all it was to you? He hesitated just long enough for me to see the truth. I like you, Olivia. A lot. And I think you like me too. I was using you, I said, the realization hitting me fully as I spoke the words. I was unhappy in my marriage, and instead of fixing it, I used your attention to make myself feel better. That's not. It is. And I think you knew that. You knew I was married and unhappy, and you pursued me anyway. He had the grace to look ashamed. I thought you deserved better. Better than a husband who works hard to provide for our future, who has never once in 8 years raised his voice to me or intentionally hurt me, who loves me enough to let me go if that's what I want. I shook my head. No, I didn't deserve better. I deserved exactly what I had, and I threw it away. I stood up, suddenly needing distance from him, from the office, from the mess I'd made of my life. I'm taking some personal days, I told him, already walking away. Olivia, wait. But I didn't wait. I walked straight to my boss's office, requested a week of emergency leave, and left without looking back. In the days that followed, I did a lot of thinking. About my marriage, about my responsibility in its breakdown, about what I really wanted. I realized with painful clarity how unfair I'd been to Marcus. Yes, he worked long hours. Yes, he sometimes got lost in his projects. But he had always been steady, reliable, loving in his own quiet way. He had supported my photography, encouraged my friendships, never tried to control or diminish me. And how had I repaid him? By seeking validation elsewhere at the first sign of trouble. By failing to communicate my needs clearly. By threatening to leave him for another man. I called Lena, needing perspective from someone who knew us both. I really messed up, I said when she answered. Yeah, you did, she agreed, never one to sugarcoat. Question is, what are you gonna do about it? I don't know if there's anything I can do. He won't answer my calls. He's already signed divorce papers. Do you love him? Of course I do. Are you sure? Because you've spent months acting like you don't. Her words stung, but they were true. I love him. I said more quietly. I've just forgotten how to show it. Then show him now, she said. Fight for your marriage like you should have been doing all along. It took me 3 days to track Marcus down. His colleague finally took pity on me and gave me the address of his temporary apartment. It was a sterile, soulless place in a high-rise near his office. The kind of place people stayed when they had nowhere else to go. When I knocked, I half expected him not to answer. But he did, looking as terrible as I felt, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing a rumpled t-shirt I recognized as one I'd given him years ago. Olivia. No warmth in his voice, no anger either, just exhaustion. Can I come in? He stepped aside silently. The apartment was barely furnished, a laptop on the kitchen counter surrounded by takeout containers. Design drawings spread across the coffee table, a single photo our wedding day propped against a lamp. He hadn't completely let go. I don't want a divorce, I said, getting straight to the point. Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. You made your feelings pretty clear. I was angry, hurt. I said things I didn't mean, including the part about Ethan. I flinched. There is nothing between me and Ethan. There never was, not really. But you wanted there to be. No, I wanted attention. I wanted to feel seen. I went looking for that in the wrong place, instead of telling you what I needed. He was quiet for a long moment. I'm not perfect, Olivia. I get too absorbed in my work. I forget important dates, but I have never, not for 1 second, stopped loving you. I know, I whispered, and I threw that away like it meant nothing. Did it mean nothing? It meant everything. It still does. Marcus sat on the couch, suddenly looking very tired. I finished the bridge project. The abrupt change of subject threw me. What? The pedestrian bridge. The one I've been working on for months. We broke ground yesterday. That's good. Do you know why that project mattered so much to me? I shook my head. Because it's in our neighborhood. Because you've been talking for years about how you wish there was an easier way to get to the arts district across the river without driving. Because I wanted to build something lasting for the community we plan to raise our family in someday. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You were doing it for me? For us. For our future. I should have told you. I wanted it to be a surprise when they announced the design team. Tears welled in my eyes. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'm an idiot who thought actions spoke louder than words. Because I thought you knew me well enough to know I wouldn't work those hours unless it really mattered. I'm so sorry, I said, the tears spilling over. I've been selfish and stupid and blind. We both made mistakes, he said quietly. I should have made more time for you, should have balanced work better, should have remembered our damn anniversary. I laughed through my tears. It's just a date. No, it's important. You were right about that. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything between us. Where do we go from here? I finally asked. I don't know, he admitted. Trust is easy to break, hard to rebuild. I want to try. I want to fight for us. Even if it's hard, even if it takes time, even then. I moved to sit beside him, not touching but close. I fucked around and found out that I don't want anyone but you. Never have, never will. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Eloquently put. I mean it, Marcus. I'll do whatever it takes. Counseling, date nights, better communication, learning to appreciate the way you show love instead of expecting it to look like I think it should. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he reached for my hand. I never signed the lease on this place, he said. Month to month, I wasn't ready to commit to being without you. Hope fluttered in my chest. Does that mean? It means maybe we try again, slowly, with our eyes open this time. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. 1 year later. Happy anniversary, Marcus whispers, pressing a kiss to my temple as we stand on the pedestrian bridge, watching the sunset paint the river golden. You remembered, I tease, but there's no bite to it. He hasn't forgotten a single important date since we reconciled. As if I could forget the day I almost lost everything. He doesn't mean our wedding anniversary. He means the day I came to his temporary apartment, the day we decided to try again. It hasn't been easy. We've had hard conversations, painful revelations, moments of doubt. We've spent hours in a therapist's office learning to communicate better, to hear what the other is really saying. We've rebuilt, brick by brick, the foundation that nearly crumbled. Ethan transferred to another branch of the company, a mutual decision that made rebuilding trust easier. Lena has been our biggest cheerleader, reminding us both of what we're fighting for when things get tough. Look, Marcus says, pointing to a small bronze plaque embedded in the bridge railing. I hadn't noticed it before. I lean closer to read it. For Olivia, who taught me that the strongest bridges are built with patience, forgiveness, and love. How did you? Being the lead engineer has its perks, he says with a smile. I wanted something permanent, something that says we were broken, but we rebuilt, stronger than before. I think about how close I came to throwing away everything that mattered, how one moment of anger nearly cost me the love of my life, how easily the story could have ended differently. I fucked around, I say softly, leaning into his embrace, and found out, he finishes, arms tightening around me. But what I found out wasn't that my husband wasn't playing. What I found out was that some things once broken can be rebuilt stronger than before. That love, real love, is worth fighting for. That sometimes the person you're looking for has been there all along, waiting for you to truly see them. As the last light fades from the sky, we stand together on the bridge he built, planning the rest of our lives. The end.